Today I'm going to be planting all of these herbs in some pots. These are all the herbs that I bought at the farmer's market. I've got sage, thyme, and chocolate mint, and they are quickly outgrowing their pots, so I'm going to be planting those up today in my garden update. You guys can see how I replant my plants, what I use, and all of that fun stuff. So I have this big plastic pot. We just picked this up from Home Depot. They're pretty cheap. I think we got this for $12, and we just drilled some holes in the bottom for drainage. And this is the soil that I'm going to be using. I've used this stuff before. If I'm going to do a big gardening project, like eventually filling the raised beds, I'm probably going to order soil from a company and just get it delivered in our driveway. But for a smaller project like this, the bags of soil are kind of the way to go because you can't really buy that small of an amount of soil. So I'm going to be using that and this container. In this big container, I'm going to be planting the sage and the thyme. I'm going to be planting the chocolate mint in this pot. I have my lemon balm, which is also in the mint family, planted in a pot this size, and it's doing really well. I don't want to plant the mint with anything because it's super invasive and it's going to just take over whatever I put it in. So I do have some soil in this pot that I need to dump out because it's not the correct soil that I want to use. It's just like leftover stuff that I had. So I'm just going to dump this out and then start filling both of these pots. Hopefully I have enough soil. I might do half just soil that we have in our yard for this one, just because I don't know if I'm going to have enough for both of these. So I've got some dirt here that was from a planter I already had. I wasn't planting anything in it, and it was kind of starting to wear out from being outside. So I just took some of the dirt out of there so I could help fill this giant pot, because I don't want to use up this entire bag of raised bed dirt. So I'm going to put this in the giant pot. So now I'm going to add in a little bit of manure, fertilizer. I'm going to add just a bit and kind of mix it around in here. And I filled the other smaller pot while I was at it. So I'm going to be taking this guy, and it smells really good, and planting it in here. All I've done is dig a small hole, and I just put a little bit of my fertilizer manure in the bottom and just kind of mixed it around just so it has access to nutrients right away. And to get the plant out, I'm just going to grab the whole thing, give it a bit of a squeeze. Grab it as close to the base as I can, squeeze it all around, and it should pop right out. So as you can see, we've got a lot of roots. This is a really big plant. So I'm just gonna kind of massage the roots just a little bit to try and break it apart a little bit, just because this plant is definitely overseeded. That's kind of what you'll see a lot in nursery plants. It's really all I'm gonna do, and then I'm just going to measure it down. good watering just because the dirt I put it into is really dry. But that is how I replant my plants. So next I'm going to be planting the sage and the thyme. Sage, there's a bit of dead leaves underneath, so I'm just gonna make sure that I break those off before planting it, just because it will do a lot better if it doesn't have to deal with all this dead stuff. So I'm gonna start the garden update in this little corner over here. This is kind of my full sun corner. I have the lemon balm, which has honestly just exploded. This started from 2 little seedlings and it quickly just grew into this. Really easy to grow. I actually just made a video showing you 2 of my favorite ways to use lemon balm, so I'll leave that linked in the cards. Then we've got one of my chamomile plants. I have yet to harvest a lot of it. I have noticed I've had a lot of these little inchworms crawling up my chamomile plants, but they haven't really done much harm to it. I am gonna harvest quite a bit of the flowers soon and dry them for tea. Then over here we have the bee balm. I have to trim this back so I can get another flower harvest out of it. So then we move over to my lavender plant. This was kind of a hit or miss for a while. I wasn't sure if anything was sprouting up, but I actually did get quite a few sprigs of lavender for my first time growing lavender. Lavender is typically a hard plant to grow, but the great thing is that it's a perennial, so it will come back if I take care of it. I'm gonna move on to the misfit garden over here. This was kind of just, I threw things in this pot to see what would happen. I did some basil seeds. I'm actually gonna let those go to seed and harvest them for next year because I have a bigger basil plant that I purchased, so those I'm just gonna let go to seed. The tomato plant you can see right here, that didn't do too well. I haven't got a single tomato off that plant. I definitely think it needed more dirt. A lot of the dirt washed out of this container. I'm probably gonna get rid of these containers because they just bow really bad and they just weren't that great. They were really cheap. So tomatoes is definitely going to be a project for next year. This was a free tomato plant that I got that was almost dead, so the fact that it even grew at all was kind of surprising. Then we have the new chocolate mint plant that I just planted. I'm going to keep that in a partial shade, partial full sun, see how it does. The lemon balm seems to like a lot of sun, so I'm assuming that this one will as well, but we'll see. If it starts to get wilty, I'll just move it into a shadier spot. Then over here we have my 2 basil plants. I find that around here basil tends to like the shade because it gets really hot here in the summer. I have to trim this back again and make like pesto or something. So because my basil was so slow to start, I actually purchased this basil from a local nursery. My holy basil plant, which actually did really well, I'm going to keep it in this little pot and try and bring it indoors when it gets cold. On the back of the seed packet it says that it does well indoors. in a potted plant like this, so I'm hoping to keep this alive until next year. Over here we kind of have my little chamomile farm. I had so much chamomile this year, I really didn't know what to do with it, and I just put it all over here. I have to harvest a lot of it. A lot of the buds are going bad. I have been utilizing these dead flowers and just plopping them in the pots of all my plants, because chamomile is actually a really good fertilizer. It has a lot of nutrients in it and it's beneficial. It breaks down really quickly as well. So like I had buds in here and you can't even see them because they're already broken down. This little guy is my rosemary plant. I had another sprig in here, but it was just being taken over by these little caterpillars. I think they made like a little nest in it, so I plucked that one out. This one seems to be doing better. I'm gonna keep an eye on it, but I might just seed it a lot more. I think that's something I definitely learned gardening this year, is that I used the instructions on the back of the seed packet by only putting like 1 or 2 seeds in each spot, and I would only get like 1 or 2 plant sprouts. But you'll notice when you buy plant starts at the store, they're way overseeded, but it produces this nice bushier plant. So I'm definitely gonna overseed my starts next year and kind of see how that works out differently. And then the last 2 plants are these ones you just saw me plant up. We've got the thyme and the sage. I have a lot of herbs just kind of spread all about my yard, working with what I got, a lot of stuff in pots. But I've been really kind of happy how everything has turned out. I've had a pretty fruitful harvest. I've learned so much for next year, and I just really enjoyed being able to be out here and garden and get my hands in the dirt and just learn. If you guys enjoyed this garden update and would like to see more gardening videos, I will leave a link to my playlist down below and you can check out all my videos. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I post new videos every single week. So that's gonna be it, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.